Hey, what's up? It's been a while. That's a weird intro. Still don't know how to do those. I haven't scripted this video either. I'm going just purely off of my mind and my thoughts. This video is gonna be about, as the title says, how to grow muscle. So growing muscle is much like, I guess, starting a fire in a way. With starting a fire, there's like that little pyramid diagram that they have. You need the fuel, you need the oxygen, and you need heat. Muscle growth also has these three staples that you need: training, eating, and recovery. I'm going to break the video down into three different parts for the three different essentials for muscle growth. Part one, training. That's the part that everyone really likes to hear about. That's the part that people are pretty nitpicky about most of the time. That's, I think, one of the most talked about parts for muscle growth is the training. It's obviously the most fun part. I'm not like trying to grow muscle because I love the sitting around and doing nothing, or like the resting, or I mean, I kind of like that. To be honest, I kind of like all of them now. It's just such a point of my lifestyle that I like all three parts of it. But mostly when people think about muscle growth, they think about training. So how do you train properly? There's a lot of different ways to go about it. There's a lot of different things I could say to you. I could really get into some nitty gritty, but the main thing that I would say is important for training and being good at training is intent. Training with intention is super important. What I mean by that is I've seen people in the gym before. I've had friends that kind of go, you can barely tell that they go, I'm gonna be honest with you, and you see them around, you're like, oh hey, like what are you hitting today? And they're just like, well, I don't know. And it's like, you don't know, like what you don't know what you're doing? It's like, no. And then it's like, what? And then you see them on a machine and you're like, oh cool, like, so I guess you're hitting like chest today because they're doing like a chest press. They're like, yeah, and probably some other stuff too. And it's like, so you have no idea what you're doing at all. You don't know how many sets you're doing for the exercise. You don't know how many exercises you're doing. You don't know what muscles you're going to train. You don't know, like, none of it. And people with that kind of mentality typically don't put in the effort. So intention is knowing what you're doing and then really, really doing it, right? I would rather have someone go in like 3 days a week with legitimate intention. They're going to do like a full body exercise. They know the exercises they're going to do. Or at least the muscles they're going to work. You don't always have to know exactly what exercises you're going to do, but the muscles that you're going to work, maybe the exercises too, some of the reps, some like the rep schemes, maybe you're going to do 6 to 10 reps for like bench press, or maybe you're going to do 5 to 8 reps for your back squat. And when you have that intention, you will train with more intensity, right? One of the things that I think is super helpful to my training, just a second, is this. This is one of the things that is essential for my training. It really helps with my intention. It helps with recording. This is my book 3. This is my 3rd workout book. What I do is I write down the workouts. I also have like kind of my workout schedule written down. I know it off the top of my head now because I've been doing this one for a bit. It's an upper lower split. That's what I like to run at least right now. I write the exercises down. I'll do the amount of sets that I'm gonna do. I write down the weight that I'm using. I write down the amount of reps that I did, and I do that for different sets. And so if, for instance, today was a leg day, right? I wanted to do 3 sets of 3 on the back squat. And I'm like, all right, well, last week I did 3 sets of 5. I did 325 for 5. Let's see, I'll do 335 for 3 reps, right? And it was like, not like easy, but I did it. And now I know next week when I want to go do 3 sets of 3 reps, I'll probably do 345 instead of the 335 again, right? So keeping track really helps with intention. I've had people ask me before, like, oh, how do you train arms, man? I find it like boring. And I'm like, boring? What do you mean boring? How are you bored training arms? If you are bored during an exercise, you are not trying hard enough. If you are really training hard, you should not have the mental capacity to be bored. You should be like pushing it, and you're just like, oh, 1, 2. You're like counting the reps. Maybe you can't even count the reps because of how hard you're trying. I would recommend counting the reps though. I'm not gonna lie. Counting reps is good for tracking. On the book that I just showed you. what else is really important with training? So we did intensity, which I touched on with the intention. You don't have to take every set to failure or beyond failure. You're probably not Mike Mentzer, all right? I know some people like his training stuff. He had some good stuff that he was talking about, recovery and intensity. But yeah, I take, like, let's say for instance, I'm doing a bench press, right? And I'm gonna I used to do 4 sets of bench press, but I always found that my 4th set was my weakest set. I wasn't being able to push it very hard. I was kind of not trying as hard on my 2nd and 3rd set so I could save energy for my 4th set. And I don't want to be reserving energy for that last set. So I decided to go from 4 to 3 sets, and now I'm pushing like really hard on all 3 sets, right? For my first set, I might have, 1 or maybe like 2 reps in reserve, right? So that's 2 reps until failure. It's still pushing it really hard. I rack it. The next set is probably going to be like 1 rep to failure because I try to keep the same weight, same reps. I personally, for my bench press, my deadlifts, my squats, I'm training more for like strength and muscle growth, and I rest about 4 minutes, right? So about 2 reps from failure, maybe 1, probably like 1 rep to failure or like half a rep, and then my 3rd set is typically 1 to 0 reps to failure. Like I just hit failure, and that is a really good way to train with intensity. You can use RIR or RPE, just make sure you're not selling yourself short, right? If you think that, a set of, let's say you're doing an incline dumbbell press, you can do 45 and you do 8 reps, and you're like, that was a RPE 8, right? When's the last time that you went to failure on an incline dumbbell press? That's something that you should do semi-regularly, at least if you're trying to use RPE, so then you actually know where your failure is. If, let's say you get the 45s, you're like, all right, I can normally do like 8 reps, and that feels like 8 RPE, right? Meaning that you would have 2 reps left. You're doing your incline dumbbell press with the 45s, and then you're like, all right, I'm at 8. Let's see how many more I can do. And then you get to like 13, and you're like, I thought I could. So when you go to 13, it turns out, 8 reps wasn't actually the RPE 8 that you thought that it was. You could actually go closer to 10, maybe even 11, and that would be your RPE 8. I think it's important not to focus on those numbers, especially when you are more of a beginner or a novice, right? Trying to focus on RPE can be, I don't know, it'll get in the way, right? You have to focus on the feeling, how hard you're actually pushing, how much you can actually feel like you can go. Training to failure semi-often is good for knowing your limits and being able to just go just shy. Let's say failure is here, going just shy of failure. You want to get here every so often, and then you know that you'll be able to get here. Where instead of maybe you think you're this close to failure, and in reality you haven't actually gone to failure in a while, so you're like all the way down here. It's better than nothing. Training a little further away from failure is better than not training at all. It's better than half-assing your effort, but it's not as good as training closer to failure. Let's say, all right, we did intention, we did intensity. Now let's talk about proper training, proper form. Obviously, it's different for different exercises. I can't give you one good form tip right now, and it'll go for every single exercise that you ever do. Tips for squatting well are going to be very different from tips for doing other exercises well. But there are basic things that would go with almost all exercises in terms of muscle growth or like strength, right? That would be, let's say I'm sitting down, so it's easy to give this example, doing a shoulder press. You want to get the biggest stretch on the muscle possible. So if I'm holding a dumbbell, you don't want to stop right here, right? You want to go down as far down as your body will comfortably allow. If you have shoulder problems, you can only go to here. Don't try to go all the way down here. You'll probably end up tweaking your shoulder, right? But go as far down as you can to stretch that muscle as much as possible. Come up, try to be a bit explosive about it, right? Lock out. You can get away with like not locking out all the way, but I like to have like a more full range of motion personally. And then you come down with control. controlled eccentric, which is the coming down part, coming all the way down, stretching the muscles as much as possible. Maybe even sit there for a second or two, really let the muscle feel all that tension right at the most stretched part, and then push up, right? Part of doing an exercise too is kind of knowing how your body feels about it. With me, I am about 6'2", don't want to brag, actually 6'1.5" without shoes on, but you know what, I like to tell the ladies 6'2", right? Anyway, so I'm not always good at using machines because, sometimes my torso's too long or my arms are too long, like with a lot of lat pull downs, my arms are pretty freaking long, helps with deadlifts, but if I reach all the way straight up, the stack is touching and I can't keep tension on my lats, right? So with like deadlifts, sometimes your deadlift is gonna look different from other people's. Let's say you're about my height, you're about 6'2", and you're working out with your buddy who's really experienced in the gym. He's about 5'9", and he's giving you like tips for bench press, right? You're benching together, and his bench tips are probably pretty good, but you probably can't do the exact same form. His arms are probably gonna be shorter than your arms. I mean, I'd hope so. If he's 5'9" and you're 6'2", and you guys got the same length arms, probably gonna look a little bit weird, but whatever. So it's knowing how to do a movement with how your body works. Making sure that it's comfortable, making sure you can push yourself however hard you need to push yourself, but then also like taking that stretch, like for the bench press, coming all the way down, touching the bar to your chest, or if you're using dumbbells, letting the dumbbells sink as far down as you can comfortably. If you have, once again, bad joints, you don't want to go further than your joints will allow you. What else? So I did intention, intensity, I guess, what would that be? That full range of motion, kind of, good training technique. Obviously, one thing that I have seen in the gym, just with my personal experience, is if you look at, let's say, women that are more beginners versus guys that are more beginners, you will see two very different things, right? Especially like when I was in high school, going to like the community center gyms or whatever, girls will not push as much weight on a lot of exercises, and that's not just because they're weaker, right? But you'll see they actually tend to have pretty good range of motion, pretty good form. They have control over the weights, right? Younger teenage guys, including myself, I'll have to say I did this a bit, will put a lot more weight on, but their form isn't great, right? Like, you have to be realistic with how much weight you can use. Let's say you stack 4 plates on the leg press and you're like, all right, I can do this for 12, but then like your knees are only coming halfway down. If you just did 2 plates on the leg press instead of 4 and you let your knees come all the way down and you were in control of it, you'll be getting way better muscle growth than if you were using that 4 plates and they were only going halfway down. It's also, the injury risk is a lot less and you don't look stupid, right? If I see someone doing 5 plates on the leg press and they're going halfway down, I'm gonna think they look dumb, right? If I see them doing the 2 plates and they're doing full range of motion and they're really controlling it, I will be impressed, right? People that actually know what they're doing will be impressed with proper technique and proper execution of exercises. It's not just about the weight, right? I saw the other day, I was at the gym, I was doing legs. I squat ass to grass. Like, I squat pretty much as deep as I can go. And a lot of people I see are half rep squatting. Now, I don't know if that's because they don't know any better, maybe their mobility isn't very good, or maybe they're training for a different purpose than I am, right? Like maybe they're trying to get like a more explosive jump. I don't actually think that's what they were doing. I think that they just weren't squatting properly and they just didn't know any better. I didn't go and tell them about it. I know I'm a personal trainer, but sometimes it's just, I don't want to go up and tell people that they're squatting wrong, especially, I don't like to go up to like random women and tell them that they're doing things wrong, because that just feels creepy to me and I don't want to make anyone uncomfortable in the gym. Anyway, I think that was pretty much it for the training aspect of the muscle growth. If I did not cover something that you want me to cover, leave it in the comments. The whole 5 people are going to watch this. I can read all the comments because there's probably going to be 1 to 0. So don't be afraid to comment something if you want me to cover it. And then, all right, so training, let's go with eating next, nutrition. I know we're at the 15-minute mark now. Let's see how long you guys can sit down and watch me ramble for. I hope this chair isn't too loud for you. It's wicker on the bottom. Weird chair choice. I don't get why people make chairs out of wicker. Kind of comfortable, kind of not. Anyway, eating. Eating is very important, especially, losing weight, gaining weight. 100% one of the most important things that you can do. If you're losing weight, pretty simple. I'm not going to go too in depth. I'm not going to go into the mathematical calorie counting side of it. I don't count calories anymore. I used to. I did a bodybuilding show last year and I counted calories for all of that. Lately, I just eat the same exact thing every day because I guess I'm a psychopath or whatever. I don't mind. And then, if I want to make adjustments, I'll just increase or decrease the amount of food that I eat. But in terms of weight loss, higher protein, typically, 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. In that area, a little bit less is fine. A little bit more is okay. Medium to lower carbs. You don't want to go super low carb because you still need your body to run off of carbohydrates. You still need energy, especially if you're still trying to push weight around. You still do want some carbohydrates for that energy. And then lower fats, but not extremely low. If you have no fats in your diet, it is not good for your hormones and just how your body works in general, right? That's pretty much the basics for fat loss or weight loss in general. Make sure you're still getting your nutrients in, all that stuff, have a wide variety of foods, blah, blah, blah. In terms of weight gain, obviously high protein, high carbs is pretty good, and then medium to lower fats. You still need the fats for, as I said before, hormones and just letting your body work like it should. Carbohydrates are really good. They're a super good source of energy. That's where you get your energy from, right? Before I go to the gym, I'll eat a banana. I actually drink Gatorade while I'm at the gym. I got Gatorade powder I put in my water, not just for electrolytes, but because there are sugars in there as well. And it's really good to have the quick digesting carbohydrates in your body, so you don't run out of the glycogen in your muscles, so you can keep pushing hard, and all that good stuff, right? I can talk about what I eat a little bit, I guess. I am pretty basic. I don't recommend everyone eat the way that I do. I eat mostly, like, my staple foods for the last few months have been eggs, potatoes, beef, rice, protein powder, and mass gainer. Those are the main things that I'm eating right now. And like a banana, and then I drink like black coffee. I was using pre-workout before as like a supplement. I could make a video on supplements later. I won't be covering too much of it today. I don't take a lot of supplements personally. They are supplements, they're supplemental. You don't actually need to take them. They can help. Sometimes they kind of don't. Nutrition, eat good. Try not to eat too much garbage. Processed foods are okay every so often. Some people will tell me, mass gainer is terrible for you, blah, blah, blah. Why don't you eat more whole foods? Reason I drink mass gainer and protein powder is because my stomach in the mornings won't let me eat that much. I've tried before, eat a big bowl of oats with some protein in it. I would throw up doing it. I can't eat in the mornings. I have my mass gainer, I have my protein, and that helps. I physically cannot eat more, right? That's why I'm doing it in liquid form. And it's like, oh, whole foods are better. And it's like, well, I'm not doing too bad right now, all right? Like, the mass gainer is helping. It's good for protein, good for carbs, good for increasing calories. Would I recommend it for everyone? No. If you are having troubles gaining weight, sure, why not, right? Unless you have really bad digestive issues, because it can mess with your digestion. All right, so that's training down. I feel like I got a lot of the diet and eating down, and recovery. Sleep. All right, sleep is the number one most important thing for recovery. Right now, I just moved to a different city 3 weeks ago, still looking for a job. So at the moment, I don't have anything to do during the days. So I have decided to do my training like early afternoon. I drink my coffee at like noon or 11. I go to the gym at like 12 or 1, and then I get my workout done. I eat, I chill out, hang out with some friends or something, do some job searching. But the reason I do that is so I'm more mellow towards the end of the day, and I've also got my caffeine intake out of the way. If you do intake caffeine, which a lot of people who lift weights intake caffeine, sometimes an excessive amount. I only do 1 cup of coffee when I train now instead of, pre-workout and everything. Not that it's like really terrible for you. I don't know, I could make a different video talking about pre-workout on another day. But kind of being conscious of caffeine intake, not taking it at least like 8 hours before you go to bed, you know, trying to sleep about 8 hours. And it's not just your before sleeping routine, right? There's, you know, routines you could find to be able to sleep better. It's giving yourself the frickin' time to sleep, right? I know people that are like, oh, I have to wake up at 7 a.m. for school. I'm going to bed at 1 in the morning. You're setting yourself up to be screwed. Like, you're not setting yourself up for, like, success. You're going to be tired. Like, oh, 6 hours of sleep is okay for me. Your body's just, like, your body's kind of gotten used to it because you're sleeping 6 hours all the time. It would be better if you did 8. I don't care what you say. I don't care how you say you feel. Like, if I sleep, like, 7 hours or, like, less, I do not feel good. My prime sleep is 7.5 to about 9 hours. If I sleep less than that, I don't feel very good. If I sleep, sometimes even if I sleep 9 hours, it's a little too much for me. But that 7.5 to like 9 hour zone for me personally, and I would say for most people, is like the most ideal zone. So give yourself the time to sleep. Don't stay up watching YouTube or TV or whatever, you know. Some people do that, you know, maybe they had a really busy day and they want some time to yourselves. Completely, I understand. I've had days like that too, but you're just going to be tired as hell the next day. You're not going to be recovering properly. It's not even just for muscle growth. It's just for living in general. Sleep is super important. Sleep out of the way. Another really important thing for recovery is just recovering, right? Depends on how many days you go to the gym, but you should be resting. Like your legs, I'll do like 2 full days of rest before my next leg day. Arms, you can get away with 24 to 48 hours of rest. Like my chest and my back, I'll do at least 1 to 2 full days of rest afterwards. That's me personally though. Some people need to take longer rest periods. Some people take shorter rest periods. It's kind of like knowing your body, you know, giving yourself the time to learn how your body works and how it recovers. Let's say you did a chest day on Monday, or like an upper body day, and your pecs are sore, right? You're supposed to do chest again on Wednesday, but your pecs are feeling sore. Should you go in and do chest? Probably not, right? Maybe take an extra rest day and go for like a long walk, hang out with some buddies, walk around, get some extra movement in, you know, because you're not going to the gym that day. Or maybe just go in and hit shoulders and arms instead, something like that, right? But it's letting your body recover, and then once it's recovered, hitting it again. I guess playing other sports can be bad for recovery. If you like to play sports, I'm not going to tell you not to do that. Personally, I don't care about any other kind of sports. I just like to lift, so that is not an issue for me. I don't care about rock climbing. I don't care about going on like 2 hikes every week. I don't care about baseball. I don't care about none of that. So my recovery is really good just because I sit at home a lot. Wouldn't always recommend it for everybody. It is good to get out of the house. I am just a homebody sometimes. Kind of got to get out of that habit. But that is a personal thing for me. Don't know why I'm sharing this with everybody on the internet here. I feel like that's everything about recovery I can think of. Giving yourself sleep time, letting yourself just rest. If your legs are super sore, you don't need to go on that 2-hour hike uphill probably. I don't assume that's a very big issue for everybody. That's everything I could think of in terms of like just the basics of muscle growth, right? If you are doing all of those things properly, there are some things that you could do that would help a little bit, but that is the basis. One more thing I actually think I forgot to touch on in terms of training is consistency. I feel like that's a given, but just consistency, all right? I'm sure I'll make another video later on talking about, you know, really like the best ways to train for you. But, you know, if it's better to go 2 days a week every single week than to go 4 days one week, skip the next week, go 3 days the next week, skip the next week, go 4 days, and then like skip. It's better to do it consistently week to week, 2, maybe 3 days a week, right? I would much prefer that than to someone skip all the time and, oh, I don't have time for this. Make yourself accountable. Start off light if you're starting out. Give yourself time to get into it. Start with just 2 days a week. Make yourself accountable for those 2 damn days a week. You better go. You know, if you get injured, you have like a family like thing, a funeral, whatever, just postpone it. I don't like to say the word skip. If I am sore or tired or injured, I am not skipping the gym. I am postponing it. I'm not skipping that session. I'm moving it to a different day, right? Because if you skip it, that gets you in the mindset of, I just don't have to go. You do have to go. You still have to go. I mean, have to is a strong word, but if you want to be consistent and you want to get good at it, you have to go, right? It's okay to have things that you have to do instead of going to the gym. That's fine. That's life, right? But don't skip it, postpone it. Do it a different day, okay? Anyways, I think that's enough out of me. I rambled for 25 minutes. Thank you guys for sitting through the whole video. If you did, that's kind of cool, I guess. I don't know. As always, my Instagram is solidgoblin.lifts. I'm a trainer. I got my certification renewed. So if you want someone to train you online, you can hit me up on my Instagram. If you want someone to train you in person, I'm in the Vancouver area right now. So you could work something out like that. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching the video. Don't be afraid to like and subscribe, and I will see you later.